Hi, so in this video we'll see how we can create Azure pipeline using the reactjs and Kubernetes service using the linode Kubernetes service. So let's start. So first of all we'll create a simple reactjs application. So npx create react app, and I would say react linode linode or linode app, whatever name they want. So until the app is created, let's log in into Linux. This is a cloud.linode.com, and we will create a simple Kubernetes service. So now let's create a cluster and give a simple name. I would say React Linode. Select a region. I would say Mumbai, and Kubernetes service, and add. Just I require two, so I'll go with the two. Okay, so just create a cluster, and meanwhile our application has created. So npm start, just check the locally. Okay, we'll have to go again to the folder. So looks like it's working locally. So now let's check whether our cluster has been created or not. It is still in the provision. So meanwhile, because we are using Azure DevOps and Docker registry for image, so let's create a Docker registry, a repository for the same application. So I'll click on the create repository and I will name it to React linode. Okay, so click on create and our repository is there. Our cluster is still in the creating. So meanwhile, again log in into the dev.azure.com and create a project called React linode node. Okay, and go to the repo and click over here and go to the again, just control C and stop it, and we'll now sync up with our remote repository. So just run this command, whatever we have copied, and just click on the push, and it will recommend to use the command, and just that's it. Now let's check on the Azure DevOps. Click on the repo, and we have everything synced on a Azure repo. Now we will create a Docker file, because we will require a Docker file to push. Docker file, and we'll paste this line of code for this Docker. So it's very simple. Again, you have a base image from which this Docker file will be created, this Docker image would be created. Then you have a work directory, you will define as a slash app, and then you will copy the packages for the libraries. Then you install the run npm install, so that it will get the all node modules and all. And then you have a npm run build, then you have a port, and then cmd run start. Okay, so I'll commit this code, and now we will create a pipeline. So click on the pipeline, create the pipeline, just click on Azure repo so that we can get the repo for which, and click on this node.js. and we can have a simple default pipeline. Okay, now click on this because our node module has a latest version, so just add here an 18 as per current timeline, so that, and if in the future if you are seeing that, just check the latest version of your application, and accordingly that you can put the versions back. Just let's try to run in the test, and I will put over here as a none because I don't want to fire it automatically. Now our simple pipeline is running. It's just a build pipeline. So meanwhile, we need two extra tasks. One is a Docker task, another is Kubernetes task. Docker task is building the image and pushing into the Docker Hub in repository, and uh, the Kubernetes task is for pulling up from the repository and deploying on the Kubernetes. So before that, let at least finish this pipeline and we'll begin. So before that, we need another folder called Kubernetes. So I'll create another folder called, because we need Kubernetes manifest files. So I'll just set k8s, and the file name is deploy.yml, and it has a simple two definition. One is a deployment, another is a service. Okay, so I'll just change its name to, because I was using this name, because, and this should be look okay, and this is our the first part is a deployment, another part is a service. Deployment specify how the replicas and the pod related activities, while service is related to the how you want to expose to the world, and that is we are exposing using the load balancer. So here we have a metadata name, and then we have a replica, how many pods will be running, okay, one, and then we have selector and match labels, and that is snap. Now this spec has a basic spec, selector and replica, and then it has a template again has a replica metadata, labels, and the app name, and then it has a specs which related to the container. So what is the container we have? It has a react linode, that is a repository, and it is has a Docker hub. It is not like other ACR or GCR or AWS. It's a simple Docker hub, and your ID, and then um, React Linode, and then there is a tag, and there is a port number, container port, and that container port will be a target port for the service, which has a port 80, and it is mapped to the target port, that is a content port of deployment. And again, the service is very simple. It has a type, and it is a port related activities. That is a port we have already seen. The type is a load balancer. So it will expose an public IP for us to test it. Okay, rest of the things is just a simple metadata. So let's commit this code and go to the pipeline again and edit the pipeline. Or I would get pipeline and simply edit from here so that we can get the task assistant. So here I would go for a Docker. So before we go to the Docker, because it is an external things like Docker and Linode both are external to our Azure pipeline, we need some service connection to that services. So what we'll do, first of all, we will create a Docker service connection. So go to the setting and click on the service connection, create, and just look for this Docker registry, and click on this Docker Hub. Docker ID should be your username to the Docker Hub, and your password. That is another credential part. Verify it and click on the. Now verification is successful, so everything is look good. Grant access permission, verify and save. Go to the another click on the another service connection, that is a new service connection. Search for the Kubernetes, And Kubernetes is for, like, we'll have to check for a service account, and here there are certain things that we'll have to fill up, but for that we need a kubeconfig file. So our service has been, Kubernetes is already there. Why it is showing offline? Okay, after refreshing it look like running. So just download this and copy into the file location of your local Kubernetes. So I'll just copy and I'll put into the kubeconfig file. So where is the kubeconfig? You go to the users and then your main user and then .kube and paste over here. Now delete the previous one, just rename it to the config and edit using edit plus. So this is my edit plus, and now go to the, because we want to connect and the connection can only happen through the service account. So let's go back to the service account file where it is. So type, so this is our service account. It has so first of all we'll create a service account, and service account will have a secret. So service account definition is very simple. You just give the metadata name, and the secret you just mention the service account using the annotation and you name of the secret. And every secret and service account should have that role and the role binding. So the different role for create, deployment, list, fetch, everything, and then you have a role binding with service account again. So that's simple. So just first of all check our linode is working or not. kubectl get nodes. Yeah, they are there. Now kubectl apply have sa, the service account yml. Okay, so service account deployments of everything is get created. So now let's go to the Azure portal, and here Azure already recommendation how you get the URL. So just copy it and paste over here and just change, and it has given your URL. Just copy this URL and put again in the URL, and the another one is just copy and just change the, because we do not have a namespace, and change the secret name. So what is the secret? Just we have created. This is the secret. Copy and just check. So now you'll get a JSON file. Just copy a JSON part and paste into the secret one. And now give the name kubecon and grant the permission and save it. So both the service connections are ready. Now we'll go to the pipeline, edit it, and let's click on the Docker, search for the Docker build and push. Just select this, and here you'll have a registry, and you have to give this Docker image repository name. So what is our repository? It is react linode build and push, and is using the Docker file that we already have created, and our tag would be early test one. Okay, looks pretty good. So our task has been created automatically. So this is the way the task assistant can help you so that you don't do any mistake. Now another task that we need is a Kubernetes. So select the kube connection, default namespace is a default, and manifest file. Then you have a kte. Where is the manifest file? If you remember that we have a folder called kte and deploy.yaml, and that's it. Look like good. Let's verify everything is good. Okay. Now we have added our connection, kube connection, and we have a container registry, that is a docker run, docker connection. Both are ready. So now let's try to save and run the application. Hopefully should create the necessary Kubernetes deployments. So Docker build and push is done. Kubernetes service is running. So look like it is successfully done. So let's check on the command line and check kubectl. Let's first of all clear this dash. Kubectl get all, and we have a pod is running. Okay, so we have the service is also running, and we have deployment is there. And just click on this, or maybe hopefully should work, but let's go to the Kubernetes linode, and it may give you a Kubernetes dashboard. We have a kube config, and just uh, users admin kube, and yeah, kube config. Sign in, and we can get this. Click on the service, and this is our URL. So here you can see the URL, and our application is running perfectly fine. So this is the way that we can deploy the reactjs using the Azure pipeline and Kubernetes service and external Kubernetes service, that is the linode service. The steps are pretty same in a different environment, like whether you go for a DC solution or maybe a GKU or AWS. We will definitely have those example as well. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.